Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's Game Club. This month, we played Pacific Drive. I'm your host, Boston. I have played this on the PS5 and PC. I'm joined, as always, by Moonpeer.
Hello, PC.
And Musum.
Hello, Steam Deck.
Let's talk about all the deets of this game here. Released February 22nd, 2024. Published by Kepler Interactive and developed by Ironwood Studios. Came out on PS5 and PC. I like the overview that the developers have given on the Pacific Drive webpage. It says Pacific Drive is a first-person driving survival game. Yep. That's you got it. I like that one. Let's do time travel here real quick. Metacritic 79, OpenCritic 80. Appears for the release date Granblue Fantasy Relink, Persona 3 Reload. I didn't realize I put two games like that back to back. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Helldivers 2, Skull and Bones, Balatro, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
So literally a slate of releases with one exception that were specifically designed for the cast of this show.
Right.
Yes.
With all those hit games, probably hits, out of the way, let's talk about the question we ask every month. Was this game top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked?
Middle of the pack for me. It was a game I'd been thinking about a long time, or at least a few months. It's a catchy trailer when you show like a station wagon going across an apocalyptic landscape.
It's true.
And advertise it as upgrading, but you already discussed what came out that month, so it was
right.
yeah. I'm not gonna get to it soon, but it's on my mind.
Yeah.
So I'll say it started the middle of the pack, and then this became one of those sweeps where like a bunch of streamers got their hands on it, I'm assuming. I don't know so much about game journals, but a bunch of streamers got their hands on it, and all of a sudden people started talking about it a lot. And then people started playing Balatro.
Okay. See, for me, I'm kind of between middle of the pack and overlooked, because I feel like it came out and maybe I saw like Northern Lion play it for a video on YouTube once, and that was about all I saw of this. I didn't really see too much else coming out of this one. So, all right, all that stuff out of the way here. Let's, as we always do, let's make a quick note here for spoiler warning. Mostly going to be mechanics and not story this time, but we'll touch on some of the story stuff here. Let's talk about what we liked and what we didn't like about Pacific Drive. Driving in the Pacific.
Hold on. It's been alluded to before we started recording. I think we might as well start the show off with the technical difficulties section.
Oh Lord, I got him.
Yep. Go ahead.
Let's get the bad out of the way here. PS5 version runs abysmally. It has an unlimited frame rate option that you shouldn't use. It only hits 60 when you're in tunnels. The rest of the time, it struggles to get anywhere close to 30, which would be fine if it was locked at 30, but it isn't. I do want to stress that is at time of recording that is how it's running. There have been some patches and improvements and whatnot. I played a lot of this game. I'm just shy of 40 hours in Pacific Drive.
I was expecting me to be the big boy in this.
Well, we'll get into why here in a minute, but like there have been numerous times playing this where I have left with a pretty bad headache because of the frame rate issues. Bought and played some of the PC version. Didn't have any issues with I bought and played the PC version, and I'm a couple missions in through there, because I was worried that it was the first-person driving that I'm not used to. I thought, maybe that's what is giving me the issues. That doesn't exist on the PC.
It was the framey nature of it.
The inconsistent sub-30 frame rate that was causing the issues.
Okay.
Well, I was about to say I can go real quick because mine will be short.
Yeah, go ahead because mine will be shorter.
So divide Boston's number by 10, and that's about how many hours I put into it. If I'm being kind to myself.
I can give you a count if you want because I literally just quit the game.
Oh yeah, where you got?
You're at 4.5 hours, so almost literally divided by 10.
There you go.
It's yeah. And I'm maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 runs in, and it doesn't really like the way I play games nowadays because I don't know, I don't want to sound like I got all these better things to do, but I do, unfortunately.
We're busy. We're getting older. We're getting busier.
My game sessions are about a half hour. You can't save mid-run. It just boots you out of the run and goes back. And I found that out on the second mission. I'm like, well, I'm too tired to finish this. I'm just going to tell it not to penalize me for this and move on. And so I barely got anywhere in this, unfortunately.
Yeah. How did it run on the Steam Deck?
Oh, yeah. The main question. Not good. Not good at all. It starts by trying to give itself, a bunch of max settings, which is, I guess if you want to go blind, you can, you can try and move it there, but it's, like 5 frames per second or something. But I kind of just looked it up online, and this guy said to run it in DX11, which I never did, but I did take his other advice, which was just put everything on medium. So I did that.
Right.
And that made it playable.
Good.
So, I mean, it still was like I normally don't notice frame rates, but I think most of the time when you were driving, it was probably around 15 to 20. So it's not, it wasn't great.
It is a surprisingly intense
game.
Yeah, like I've got a 3060 in my machine, which I know people are like, "Oh, it's a 3000." And like you, the game defaulted on ultra for everything, and my machine could handle it, but sometimes it was like, "Yeah, we're going to hiccup here for a couple of frames and then kind of catch back up."
Oh, right. And they didn't on Steam Deck, they didn't modify the text at all. So they were
bummer.
Much of the text was illegible. And Steam wanted me to use this shortcut to zoom in, and I immediately forgot what those keys were. It's a Steam button plus something. I never Googled it, and it didn't seem that important to me as I was playing.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, anytime I zoomed in, it was by accident, so you're perfectly fine.
Well, and this was like a Steam function zoom in, not like the game function zoom in.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's like a hold the Steam button and hit another button to do like a on-screen magnifying thing on Steam, and it popped that up for me once too, and I was like, I'm not gonna remember that. That's for somebody else.
Yeah.
So how was your performance, Moon?
Honestly, it was fine.
Okay.
It was not flawless, but it was fine. I did end up playing with the settings a little bit to try and get a little bit more bang for my buck. Mostly it was just because I never use them anyway, just turning the mirror reflections stuff down.
Oh, okay.
Because you have side mirrors and a rear view mirror that actually work. But I still never use them. If I'm going to go backwards and there's a tree there, I'm going to hit the tree. It doesn't matter if I got my mirrors or not. I'm going to hit it.
Yeah, if there's a tourist behind me, my car's just going to get blown up. That's just going to happen.
100% every time.
I did several times think I should just turn off the reflecting thing because I am not using any of these mirrors, and it's just hogging resources.
So after about 2 hours, that's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, everything is at ultra, and it runs fine. But I could definitely tell, like, it seemed to run at a base of 60, and then occasionally it would kick up to, like, 120. But I could definitely tell when it dipped below that 60, because I don't notice frame rates. I just don't. I don't care. I play everything on a series, actually. Think I notice frame rates? And when it dropped to, like, 30, I was like, something going on here.
Yeah, now I'm noticing something.
something I need to figure out with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I turned the mirror stuff off, and it ran absolutely fine. And surprisingly smooth with minimal bugs. Occasionally a graphics glitch here and there, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's funny because playing on the PS5, I really didn't have any issues whatsoever bug-wise. I ran into one progression bug I'll talk about later, which is the reason why I didn't finish it. But when I started over on PC, the very first time you get to Oppie's garage and the game is like, put the wheel back on. I could pick up the wheel and I couldn't put it back on the car. So like that was the only time I ran it, and I had to restart. I had to like close the game, open it back up, and do that whole thing back again, and then it let me do it. And I was like, that's okay. That's a heck of a time to have a bug.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
an
if it's a
interesting one.
glitch, but I couldn't find the carrying container when I went back to the garage.
So, pro tip for that one: turn on the vacuum.
Yeah,
I don't have a
pull it.
vacuum yet. I didn't get that far.
No, it's not the vacuum that you create. It's the vacuum in one of the rooms. There's a lever that activates a vacuum. And it
Oh,
sucks up everything on the floor and just spits out the container for you. So you can pick up the container and then put everything you just vacuumed into the container.
Yeah.
okay.
Handy little trick. I feel like I need to talk hardware right now.
Okay.
Because for those of you who've listened to We Roguelike It, I almost said Critical Misses. You'll know that I'm using a different controller for the first time in several years.
Oh, sure.
I am using what is it called?
DualSense.
Thank you. I'm using a PlayStation 5 controller for the PlayStation 5 exclusive on my PC.
Right.
Which means it has DualSense capability. Which means it does the adaptive triggers. And
yes, and the resistance and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite moments. So, from what I understand, Astro's Playroom is a great example of that. Whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
My favorite example of it is the one that made me realize how important it can be to storytelling. Is in that very first mission when you're playing it and you're driving. You're not in the zone yet, but you're driving next to the zone. And just before you get pulled in, your car cuts out. And if you're accelerating using the trigger, it's got the resistance trigger. And then the second the car cuts out, the trigger just goes flat and goes straight to the floor.
Right, like it's
nice.
dead.
And it's such a good little moment. It's like,
yep.
Not enough people are talking about the triggers on the DualSense. I'm just saying. I'm assuming that's because not enough people are making use of the DualSense triggers.
That's probably likely, yeah. Yeah, there's some... I turned it off on this game for most of it because I really wish the vibration was weaker when you're driving, because it's just kind of this low level constant vibration. I wish that was much less, but I agree with that. I think this is a fun implementation of it. I do wish that and I don't know if this game had it and I turned it off by accident, but I kind of wish that the radio calls you're getting from like Oppie and Tobias and Francis, I wish those went through the controller speaker, because I think that would be kind of, especially when you're out of the car and you can still hear them talking to you. I wish that was through the controller.
I don't think this has it because I'm still getting all of the pickup noises and menu noises for Returnal through the speaker. On the controller, but I'm not getting them on when I'm playing Pacific Drive.
Gotcha.
I will say I'm the proud owner of a 20-foot USB cable.
There you go.
A 60-foot HDMI cable now.
All right. Couch gaming. Let's go.
60-foot.
The distances were 10 feet, 15 feet, not big enough.
Right.
Or 60 feet. So I went with the 60-foot version. So
there you go.
Hold on. Because there will be a video version.
Yep. Moon is reaching under his desk at the moment. And has a large coil of HDMI cable there.
Does that cost a house payment?
So here's the funny part. It did, almost.
Yeah.
But now I need to rewire my entire desk because, like, I'm surrounded by cables. Like, my headphone is cabled in. I've got my USB extender and my USB cables so I can plug my controller in. But that can all go away now thanks to Boston's great advice. Thanks, Boston.
You're welcome.
AKA, I got a Bluetooth adapter.
Right. I against all odds, I really like Pacific Drive.
I need to know the story on this, Boston, because 2 weeks ago you didn't seem like you were hot on this at all.
I had some unkind words. Yeah, I had some unkind words for Pacific Drive. So I think I realized, because I don't like crafting games in general, and I think Pacific Drive has shown me why. Because I really like Pacific Drive. If the PS5's performance was better, I'd be getting the platinum. I'd be getting all the trophies for all the weird runs, like do a run with 2 junctions where you're never in park, those sort of things. I think the big things that help me with this game is, one, I like having to take care of the car. Like the car is, like, I like the ritual. You're always going back, you're interacting with the thing, it's showing you what's broken, you got your checklist. I'm taking off doors and I'm putting in them in the matter refabricator to heal up when I'm doing my next run, and I'm taking some of them out of the locker and putting them on the car. Like, I like the ritual of taking care of the car being the character, really. And I like that that's your focus, where a lot of crafting games, and I think where some of that stuff breaks down for me, is I'm building
you're just progressing to the next level of whatever material, like tools you have.
Yeah, and like the tools being either part of your character, or you're like building a town and planning, like, oh, my library goes over here and my mail store goes over here.
How is someone who likes Dark Cloud 2 as much as you do,
I know,
complaining about crafting games?
Because I think the other side of this equation is, you'll be shocked to know I like a game that has roguelike elements in it.
Wait, hold on.
I know. Don't check out We Roguelike.
I didn't know this about him.
No, I know. It's a real surprise. But I think for me in crafting games, I get bored of, like, well, I need 20 more stones, so I'm going to go in the forest. I'm going to take a left at the big tree.
And I'm going to go thing where you just like chop down a forest and realize you've been playing for 6 hours, kind of thing.
Right, and I think one of the strengths of Pacific Drive is, all right, I need to go get a bunch of plastic and rubber and a bunch of chemicals and stuff. So I'm going to stay.
Always chemicals.
It's always chemicals.
Always chemicals.
Until you can craft that blowtorch. It's always going to be chemicals. But I like saying, like, okay, I need this kind of first tier of items, so I'm going to stick to the outer edge of the zone, and try and do a run of as many FTL style nodes as I can in that, and like scoop up a bunch of stuff. And each one of those nodes is always going to be different. It's going to have similar anomalies in it, but I like that I'm not always gonna go in the forest and take a left at the tree and go right here. Like I get something a little bit different. So yeah, I need 20 more plastic, and I'll do a couple of runs. Sure.
I also like how readable the minimap is. Like when you get into a zone, like, because I have like 500 scrap metal. I don't need no more scrap metal. I've got 700 fabric. I don't need no more fabric. I need
so much fabric.
Chemicals. Only chemicals. That is what I need.
Yeah.
So like when I get into a zone, I immediately look at my minimap and I'm like, okay, that's a farmhouse. Scratch that, not going there.
Right.
That's like a satellite station. Might go there if it's on the way.
Yeah.
If it's one of those little like hut things, like the lab huts.
I'm the little Ardo labs.
There. That is where I am going, because that's going to have me some chemicals.
Same with when I got the resource radar for the top of the car, where you can just ping everything around you. And it's like, oh, here's a box truck and an Arda research truck. Those are the two that are going to have really good stuff. So it's kind of worth parking and hiking and going to open those guys and getting hopefully some dumpster pearls. Fingers crossed, but hopefully at least something cool. Yeah. But go ahead.
I think I know why you like this. Because do you want to know what game this game reminds me of the most? Death Stranding.
There's a lot of that in here.
Go from A to B, stop at little bits and pieces on the route, and make it to the next section. A to B, next section. A to
just
B,
like
next
Death
section.
Stranding, I'm rewarded for being cautious, which is my default nature.
So yeah, that might be my favorite thing about this game. I'm not gonna lie, as I love that this is a slow game. This is a deliberate game. This is a take your time. The car isn't doing 90 mile an hour down the road and you're drifting around corners.
If your car is doing 90 miles an hour, your run is going real wrong. I've been there.
You've hit a storm.
Yep.
Like you didn't put your parking brake on and now the car is just about to launch into the atmosphere. Like, you know, the usual stuff.
The number of times I have been out foraging and I see the headlights streaming past off in the distance here going burp, 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 and I'm like, oh right, I'm in an area that has the Warrens.
The bunnies are around.
The bunnies are around. It's like, okay, let's start running after the car. Here we go. All right.
I love that nature of this, the slow, chilled, the deliberate nature, and the fact that the radio is a solid radio too.
It's really good.
It's got some really good stations on it. It's got like the survival podcast channel where someone randomly tunes in and gives updates on what their life is like.
Yep.
The
vibes are good.
Yes. I mean, they're bad, but they're good in a bad way.
That's true. And like to Musim's point, I found it really frustrating that you can't save and quit in the middle of a run. I'm not going to go so far to say it's unacceptable, but it's the sort of thing that we dealt with Enter the Gungeon when that came out, where people are like, man, it's that was like 5 or so years ago, where people are like, you can't put a game out that has runs that are this long where you can't save and quit. Because in Pacific Drive, if you could quit a run with no negatives without changing the gameplay settings, that would be fine. Where it's like, all right, I got halfway through, let's just pull the ripcord and get out of here. But I had to abandon I'm 2 or 3 missions away from the end of the game. It has 21 missions, and I on 18 or 19. I had to abandon a run all the way at the end because I'm on the step where you have to craft the limb shield, and I decided to use my thermosap crystals to create a new engine, which was well worth it, as opposed to creating the limb shield.
Is the only way to get them from the tourists? I need to know.
No, you can get them really easily from the mid-zone areas called the Scorch. They're not in the other one.
It's probably worth saying, like, you are pretty much close to finishing Musim. You said you got like 4 hours and change in. I'm about to crack the mid-zone because I went through a lot of technical difficulties trying to get this thing to work. Right. Not the game technical difficulties, but my technical difficulties.
Your setup.
Oh, hey, my controller's disconnecting. Oh, hey,
right.
I don't want to sit in this chair that's specifically designed for my posture to play video games in. I want to sit on my couch.
Right. I want to slug life on the couch.
HDMI cable, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I had a lot of difficulties with that. So, like, I did bits and pieces, like, for a while. And this week it kind of just clicked. Everything just clicked into place. I got the setup I needed. I've got my controller all organized. I've got everything I need. And I just, like, all I can think about is coming home from work, sitting down, and trying to make progress in the zone. Like, that's all I can think about.
Yeah, you'll find those in the mid-zone areas. But, like, I got to the end. You essentially...
I do like that progression.
I do too, because like I'm at the end of that phase of the progression. I'm moving from the mid zone to the next area, and one of those, the final step is crafting the limb shield so you can get past the end of the mid zone. I had accidentally gone to the area that is that quest step without crafting the limb shield, which means I can't get out of that area. So I could there were gateways that I could leave in, but there's a giant wall that was separating me from the gateways, and even force closing the game and starting back up to re-roll the map wasn't succeeding. So I had to abandon that run. And when I abandoned the run, it took half of my doors and panels off the car and injured the other half and removed my engine.
Holy crap.
It took out my engine. So, because I'm like turning the engine, it's just click, click, click,
Nothing's
click, click.
happening.
And I'm just like, wait, what happened? And I get out and I open the trunk, it's just empty. And I'm like, well, thankfully the friendly dumpster spat out an engine, because otherwise I had nothing to build an engine with. Which, like, as much as this game can be difficult and can be kind of abrasive at times, I do like that there is that friendly dumpster at the garage that's just spitting out stuff you're going to need.
It's also randomly around the maps. You'll see them at like gas stations. Like you'll just randomly see them there. It's like, okay.
Those always spit out dumpster pearls, thank goodness. Yeah. I was very much in the same position you were, Moon, where I started this and I'm like, I'm really glad we played it for the show, because if I had played this on my own for the first couple of hours, really,
this is the podcast curse. You'll mention it in passing how much you don't like it on the show. You'll never play it again, and then it'll sit there forever in your library.
And if I didn't get to the point where I made the steel doors and panels and stuff,
there was a game changer for me. Like,
it was huge.
Because it was like your first couple of zones, you're going out with the crude stuff, and then you just unlock the steel panel recipe.
Yep.
As soon as you get that, and it clicks in your head that you can, like, oh, I can just put steel stuff on everything. I'm actually just hit a point right now where I had the same revolutionary moment, because I was getting to the end of the starting zone, and it's starting to get rough, we'll say.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things, like it introduces a lot more variables into the zones, a lot more anomalies. And I was like, these steel stuff is just not doing it anymore. What can I do? And then, so I went in my research thing. I was like, well, I'm facing a lot of electric people right now, so I'm just going to build insulated panels instead.
Right.
So I built insulated panels for like 90% of my car. I left 2 steel on everything, essentially, so I don't burn all of my resources. And as soon as I got into that area again, I was like, oh no, now it's easy. Now I'm just driving through these lightning storms. Because not only do I have the insulated stuff, I also have a lightning rod. So my battery is being charged as I'm driving through the storms.
3 of my 4 panels were the lightning rod, the wind one, and the hydro one. I was like, I'm never running out of battery at this point. As soon as I can put the electric engine in here, I'm going to be sold, man. This is great. I've got a giant battery in the back seat. This is super good. And like, I like that run planning thing you get into eventually, where it's like, okay, I've set my route, so I'm going to change I'm going to run into a lot of acid because I know what the anomalies are in there. I've got like the belching bunnies, and I've got all this stuff. So I'm going to peel off my my electric my insulated ones. I'm going to put my anti-corrosive ones on, kind of like redo your quote-unquote build for this run to kind of get deeper and deeper in the zone. And as that stuff started settling in and clicking with me, I was like, oh no, this is really smartly designed, that like diving further into that, the research station is so cool, because
it's deceptive, I will say, as well, because it's like, oh, like, unlock this customization thing for you, because why don't you deserve some treats too? And then you unlock that, and it's like, oh, here is a bigger backpack, here is armor defense, here is radiation defense for you as a person.
And most importantly, those anomalies that steal stuff from you can't steal stuff out of your hands, which turbo sucks, or steal stuff out of your backpack. And I was like, oh, now that was the same thing where I'm like, I've got a bigger backpack, sure, I've got some bigger stuff, and it's like, oh wait, I can craft gear that's anti-corrosive, insulated, it protects you from falling damage, which it wasn't ever really a thing. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, Like, not only can I make my car look cool, some of these upgrades, which aren't super important, but like now I can invest in all that stuff. And like, I'm now getting into the pneumatic storage tier, which like I love placing the stuff down where it's like you start with the containers that are just like, here's like 20 or 30 slots, and I'm like, hooray. You put the bigger ones down, here's like 70 slots, and I'm like, that's pretty good, but I'm filling those up. And then pneumatic one, it's just a list. It doesn't have a
that's great.
capacity max. It's just like you have 50 steel, you have 20 of these. It's just like, that's wow. All right.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, look, like I love the way this game looks. Like I'll say that.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's like a very deliberate art style, and I like the fact that you're driving an old jalopy essentially because
it's an 80s station wagon.
Yeah, because one of my favorite things about this game and one of my most hated things at the same time, and I know you had issues with this based on the Discord, is the quirks system. I love it.
I love this quirk system so much.
I love it because it perfectly corresponds with owning an older / used car.
Yes, 100%.
Occasionally, you'll just be like, you'll turn your engine on, and then suddenly your wipers start going, and you're like, okay, I guess that happens now.
Yep.
And then you turn them on and off again, and they stop, and it's great, and it's fantastic, and your car works absolutely fine. And
do you remember your first quirk?
My first was when I turned, the headlights go out.
So mine wasn't that mean. I wrote down what my first one was and my most memorable one. My first one was whenever you close the rear door, your horn honks. Because I'm like I'm in the garage and I'm like fixing up the car and I'm like putting in some paint, and then of course I was like crafting stuff in the back seat and like putting, because I'd usually like craft in the back seat and just toss it right in the cardboard boxes in the back. Yeah. And I closed it, and as soon as the slam went honk, and I was like, wait, what just happened? So I did it again, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And that's when I started diving into the quirk system. That I really like the like old school kind of 80s computer interface of just like, when I close the back door, the horn honks ? And I love that it does that progress bar with the smiley faces underneath, and they're like, you diagnosed it, here, fix this thing. I really love a lot of times where I'm just like, I have one that I'm trying to diagnose right now that I can't figure out.
I've got like two I can't figure out. I've got two I literally have no idea.
The thing that I'm noticing is when I'm out and about exploring, the driver's side door will just fly open, but I don't know what's causing that to happen yet.
What scares me the most is that there's diagnosis options in there for falls off. So
that's
it's like,
that's mine too. Where I'm like,
the brakes and the door falls off.
Right, like I
just don't want that.
So the meanest quirk that I ran into, and I didn't notice it happen until you'll figure out what made me notice this, is every time the wipers go, so they're going side to side, the fuel gauge follows that. So the wipers are going side to side, and the fuel gauge is going side to side too. I didn't notice until I just ran out of fuel in a run, because the fuel gauge always looked great when I'm looking down at it. And I was just like, wait, why does... And I turned the wipers on, and it's just flapping back and forth. I was like, oh, that's real mean.
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. So the worst part is I've had the 10... Because the exact diagnosis is steering wheel is at 10s constantly, so it means that you're turning all the way and holding it there. The lights dim, so the more you turn it, the more the lights dim until they go completely off at max lock. So I'm driving through a forest trying to get to this little thing on my map so I can get some probably chemicals,
right?
And as I'm trying to drive through this forest, like I'm weaving between boulders, and as I'm doing it, my lights are going dim, bright, dim, bright, dim, bright, dim, bright.
That's horrible.
Like, I can't see, so I keep turning my lights on and off, trying to figure out if that's what the issue was. And then that's when I finally figured out about the quirk system. It's like, oh, okay.
Now it makes sense. The one I've had the most often that drives me the most crazy is when the wipers turn. So when they essentially reach their maximum and come back, the dome light toggles. So like I'm in a rainstorm and it's just toggling off and on right above me. It's just like, please, please stop.
My funniest one was whenever I went backwards, my hood popped.
I had that one too, where I'm like, why is my hood panel broken? Why does this keep flapping open? Yep.
Yeah, so you're going backwards, it pops, and then the second you hit gas again, it just closes itself, and it's just like, okay, I guess.
I'm glad you were also... oh, go ahead.
My meanest one was whenever my headlights were on, my windshield wipers didn't work. They went extremely slowly. And I found this out 3 nodes in on a run when I'm in the middle. It's midnight, and it's pouring down with rain. So I have to use my flashlights or my headlights or my wipers. I can't use them both. And I just couldn't drive. I was just like, I'm driving by mini-map, I guess, here. We'll see.
I'm glad that you were also terrified as I am of the falls off option, where I'm like, please.
Yeah, it's like, no,
please don't.
Never. Please don't ever give me that. I don't need that.
I don't want to be halfway through a run and realize my back panel just fell off at some point. Or like the thing I use the most actually is the limb pulse emitter bumper, where it sends out a pulse of electricity and it kicks off any bunnies that you have on you, and also the abductors that are trying to grab you. You just hit a button and it just kicks those guys right off.
This is a charming game on so many different levels.
And that's why I really wish that it ran better at the time of recording, again, because they do say there have been some performance improvements, and then there have been some talk about them continuing to work on how it runs. If this was a thing where performance on PS5 was smooth, or at least kind of like was a consistent 30 or 60, this would be a real sleeper hit of 2024, I think, because it's one of those things where like if it clicks with you, if you kind of get the run-based thing, if you like taking care of your car, if you like that ritual of... I've seen some people not click with, the thing that I liked of, and it's the thing we've talked about with some games over time too, especially on We Rogue Like It, of having this kind of rhythm to a game where you go out and you do a bunch of runs, and you have this big high intensity end where you're sprinting off road towards this gateway and, dashing through it as fast as you can. And then you have this down period of you researching stuff and crafting other stuff to get back and fixing up your car and kind of like taking care of everything. And then once the down period is done, you have this big upswing again of going back and doing the run. And that rhythm, that repetition is something that I really do like in games. And I think they do such a good job of it in this one.
Yeah, Musum, I hope you chug away at this game. I hope you give it a shot maybe on the PC instead of on the...
listening to you guys talk that, like I've kind of... The last few years I've made a rule to only do music on my PC, and listening to you guys talk about it really makes me want to break that rule. Just even initially, like all the beginning crafting elements it shows me, like I don't like a Minecraft style crafting game. Like I need less things to craft, and this seems appropriate. Like if they made a Fallout game where I was only crafting power armor stuff,
right? Like it's very manageable.
Yeah. So that's it seems very appealing. Listening to you guys, it sounds like a magical game. Like it sounds really good.
It's really great because early on you get things like the hand vac, and you get the impact hammer, and you get the crowbar, and you get a really dinky flashlight and stuff like. And I like that you get those pretty early, and then eventually you unlock the upgraded versions of all of those, and like the upgraded vacuum is really great. Like the upgraded versions of so many of these things are really impactful, and it's not just like it lasts 5% longer, haha. It's like no, this vacuum is like sucking things from it feeling like halfway across the map. Like it's a
really good
real
for dealing
big...
with tourists, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's really, I like that all of these upgrades do genuinely feel impactful, as opposed to just kind of like, 2% more electric resist. It's nothing like that. It's like, yeah, you can fight off some bigger stuff, which you're going to be fighting pretty quickly in this game.
I mean, I don't know if you have a Steam Link, Musim, but that's always an option if you want to really avoid using the PC.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I'd still need to install it, but I can also stream from PC to Steam Deck, so that may be something I try to.
Oh,
but,
yeah, I wonder how that would
That's
work.
definitely worth a shot then.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
played this a bunch on my Steam Link, and it worked really well.
Yeah. The other part to it is the text just may make me forced to try it on desktop, but just everything about this
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like my type of game. And the beginning of it really seemed like my type of game. It just
Like it's such a good intro. Like it's chill. It's vibe. The vibes are heavy. Like
Right.
we said, they're good in a bad way, but it's such a good like. It's an introduction into the world that I adored. Like it doesn't just dump a wall of text in front of you. It's like this slow, steady introduction to the world, to the characters. Like,
And like one of the first things you get introduced to is the idea that like, oh, you found a remnant. Oh, and it's a car this time. Don't worry, you're like intrinsically linked to this car, and eventually it's going to drive you crazy. Don't worry about it. Anyways, the car's yours now. And it's like, I haven't even been playing for an hour. What's going on here, man? It's so good. And
I have hit my head on the back door multiple times.
yeah.
I got a trophy for getting electrocuted, taking poison damage, and taking physical damage all at the same time, which I didn't realize that was there because I got stuck getting hit by two of those things, and then I hit my head on the trunk because I was just trying to get back in my car, and I was like, man, thanks for having like insult to injury on this trophy. I appreciate it. Oh man.
My favorite one is, I have to ask both of you, how many times, if before you got the upgrade, if you didn't get the upgrade, I understand because it's a small thing, but it kind of can make a difference. How many times did either of you park on a hill, get out, and forget to put the parking brake on?
Yep, 100%. Like,
and the car just starts rolling away from you, and you
turned off my car, and it's just like, oh, it's all right, it's leaving. All right, boy.
Is that just the shift gear you're talking about, or is that?
Yes, the parking brake in the shifter in the middle. If you forget to turn it off and you're on an incline, it just rolls.
Yes, no, I've chased it several times. I had, like, the last run I did was oh crap, we got to get out of here. The storm's here, and it was it was me trying to remember the mechanics of how to get out too on top of that because I hadn't done it too many times, and I drove off with like one door flapping because it didn't take when I dashed by it, But no, I have learned to do the parking brake a lot.
Yeah.
I currently have there's an upgrade you can buy where it just turns it on automatically when you get out the car.
Yeah, it's like the auto park or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I currently have that equipped. But I think the game does a very good job of having more than enough upgrades and not enough space to put those upgrades in.
Yep.
So
I think it does a really good job.
I'm going to have to take that thing out at some point and put something else in its place. Which sound design of this game, can I just say how terrifying it is at the start when like you just hear like random bump 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 in the forest in the dark and you don't know what is going on, like.
And
the sound design is incredible.
That siren for the storm, just that like whoop, and it's just like I am nowhere near my car. I didn't realize how long I've been out here. This is real bad. Oh no.
It also does a great job on the mechanic noises of like putting stuff off and putting stuff on.
When you use the mechanic kit, I love that you just hold it up and you just go dink dink with the wrench twice, and it's like it's fixed. That's so good.
Yep.
The only there's two recommended settings that I meant to mention earlier. One is loot highlighting. Please turn that on. It makes the loot, like lootable objects, very apparent, especially from a longer distance. It makes them shimmer this kind of bright gold color. And as much as I like taking care of the car, one of the options I turned on probably about halfway through my play was refilling the tank, recharging the battery, and healing your health as soon as you came back to the...
automatically.
Yeah, doing all that automatically. It's like, I don't mind doing all of that, but like, I had a real bad run. I have to replace nearly every panel and door on my car. I've got enough other stuff to do. Yeah. This game on the surface doesn't seem like a game that's for me, but I think it has that like B game charm with crafting and survival and roguelike and the FTL map, and it has all of this like upgrade trees and like all of this stuff is all done so well. And then all of the optional stuff that you're picking up, like audio logs and written logs and stuff, has really great writing. The fax machine that you're feeding tapes into has great writing.
Like the writing, like, can we talk about like some of these? The logs are incredible. It's really well written. The voice acting is well written and superbly performed. Especially
really
the
good.
lady I can't remember the name of.
Mm-hmm.
The item descriptions, like the random item descriptions, are some of the funniest item descriptions I've read in quite a while.
The descriptions for the upgraded in the trunk storage are exceptionally weird. Like the last one is just like, it's like the trunk in a trunk is just like, it's enough to store a British town and all of its secrets. Yeah. It's just like, what are you... I love... What are you talking about? I love it.
Because like when you get it, it makes fun of the fact that we call it a boot and Americans call it a trunk.
Oh, that's right.
And then like the second one is like, oh, now you can fit a car in it, and the final one is like, yo, now you can fit a village. Screw those Brits.
Yeah,
it's really, really good. Like
all of the writing is really great, and like you said, the voice acting is really good, and like just everything. That's why I wish it ran better, because so much of it is so good. And to me, this is one of those like Alpha Protocol B game recommendations of just like, all of it has kind of rough edges, but like all of it is so charming. It's so well designed and it's so well made by a really, really small team that it really clicked with me for a game that is perfectly designed to not click with me.
Yeah. I like this game a lot.
Yeah.
a lot.
If you're still listening, you should go play this. It's a very high recommendation for this year. Do either of you guys have any other final thoughts here before we head on out?
I hate how long it's going to take me to beat this game. I genuinely do. And I hate the fact that I know I need to, because I've got a sneaking suspicion in 6 months' time this might be in the running for being at least near, if not if not near the top of my top 10. Like, it's been so it just clicks so smoothly with me. It genuinely did.
Yeah.
So my final thought is, I think I've devised a way to do this. I just downloaded it on my computer. I have the Steam hookup for my TV. Moon, how expensive was like a long USB cable for your PlayStation 5 controller?
I think I got a 20-foot one for about $25.
That's not bad.
I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I really want to play it. Hearing you guys talk about it even more just kind of solidifies that. So
yeah,
like, in all honesty, like my biggest factor with the cables I now have to clean up is because I was using Bluetooth on my motherboard, which has plagued me for 2 years now. And Boston recommended me a device was it in general? I think I asked that
on Discord. Yeah.
And I literally plugged that in, and immediately I synced my controller to it. I got it this morning. I actually ended up with the BT500 Boston, like the next gen version.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a new one out.
And like I synced my controller to it, and the controller works fine, like clear across this room.
Nice.
With a bajillion cables, 3 monitors, me, an air conditioner unit, a Wi-Fi adapter, everything else
in a cement basement.
Yeah, and it still works absolutely fine.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Anyone wants
on that route.
If anyone wants a recommendation, it's the Asus BT500 is the recommendation. I have the 400, which works really great, and it's one of those like super tiny little USB where it like barely pokes out of the USB port.
Yeah, when you buy like a wireless mouse and keyboard combo, it's one of those.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, again, highly recommended. I hope they fix the performance on both Steam Deck and on PS5, because I think, especially with this being a PS5 console exclusive, at least at the moment, I really hope that they.
If this comes out on the Xbox, I might end up going for a full game score. Like I might end up just redoing the whole thing again.
And a lot of those additional trophies and achievements are kind of fun, where it's like, do a run.
They're the dumb kind of fun, yeah.
Yeah, like do a run that's at least 3 junctions without any panels or doors on your car. It's like, yeah, great. Okay, I can do that, sure. So...
Is that when you stick the best engine in and you just gun it as quickly as you possibly can?
Yeah, I think you're just booking, yeah. All right, so... That's Pacific Drive. Wanted to recommend our next game, which is going to be Minishoot Adventures. That is out on PC currently. Came out this year on Steam. So we're going to play that here for the next month, which seems to be a twin-stick shooter Zelda combo, which seems pretty cool. So we're going to play Minishoot Adventures for next month. Hopefully you'll join us. Hopefully we'll see you all next time. Bye!
Oi.
Bye.